Alright, she has given a small introduction saying I'm senior principal engineer at Beem. So I work for a fintech startup. Okay, that's a remote startup. That's where I work. A couple of lines about me. I started my career as a computer repair guy, and then I was in BPO. I was a technical recruiter. Finally landed up. And I also doing manual testing for a couple of years, and then finally landed up in software engineering. Okay, so it's been around 6, 7, 8 years, I guess, in software engineering. I primarily lead web and the mobile development team back in this company which I work for. All right, so this is a very old technology which we are going to talk. Primarily, I mean, all our this Privacy Sandbox talk is going to be around this cookies, right? So cookies is one of the core concepts, right? So when it comes to web development, right? So what is a cookie? As per definition, it's small piece of data which the server can actually set in the client. And the client would, it has the ability to modify it and send it back to the server. Okay, all of this happens seamlessly. Okay, so this cookies have served a lot of use cases, right? So when it comes to authentication, authorization, there are several use cases of these cookies. Okay, so now cookies has been around for so long. Then what is that? It relates to the privacy. Okay. So there are two types of cookies. One is first party cookies and the second one is third party cookies. Okay, this is how they term. So based on what this classification is done is that let's say there is a server. Okay, so third party cookies are also known as tracker cookies. I will say you why. Okay, so let's say you visit an e-commerce website. Okay, the e-commerce website also hosts an ad banner. Ad banners are very popular, right? Any website you go, mostly Instagram to everything, you would see an ad banner, a space in the e-commerce website, or let's say Instagram, where you will actually see this banner which will show you dynamic advertisements, right? So that is the ad banner. Okay, so usually what happens is that ad banner is actually served from a different ad server. Let's say you visit Instagram, the Instagram's ad might come from a different ad server and not the Instagram itself. Okay, so now there are two things which can actually set these cookies in your computers, okay, in your browsers. The first party cookie is the one when you visit Instagram. If Instagram's server sets the cookie, that cookie is called first party cookie. Okay, now you see the ad, right? A small advertisement. So actually it is being served from a third party. It's actually served from the ad server. Over here in the slide you can actually see, let's say you are visiting a e-commerce website, and e-commerce server sets you the first party cookie and the ad server sets the third party cookie. And how it sets is that usually when you want to put an ad in your website, you would go to ad network, let's say Google AdSense or somewhere, and you will register yourself as a publisher. When you do that, the site which is capable of sending you those ads, that will give you a script. Am I still audible, guys? When did it stop working? Is it just now? All right. I don't think. Cool. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So the ad server, in our case, let's say Google, they'll give us a script, and that script we will actually put it in our publisher site. Publisher site is basically, let's say, Instagram or anything. So that script has the ability to set the cookies. Communicate with the ad server and set the cookie. All right. So this is where the business behind how ads are set. Okay. Let's say there are like a few nomenclature I would like to describe first before we move on. The first nomenclature is publisher. Okay. Who is a publisher? Publishers, they create content. Okay, so for example, New York Post creates content, news content, BBC creates news content, CNN publishes news news content, right? So these set of things, which set of websites or apps which publish the content and makes the users come to their site, they are called publishers, okay? There are other people who want to advertise. For our example, let's take Apple wants to advertise their products, Lenovo wanted to advertise their products, HP wanted to advertise their products, okay? So these people are advertisers. So let's say when the web started, how this ecosystem was looking is that the advertisers would directly go to the publishers and say, okay, so many people are coming to your website, why don't you put an ad? So there was, we'll actually pay you to put an ad. So this kind of communication would be directly between the advertiser and publisher. So advertiser would actually give some money and the publishers would put their ads, okay? This is how usually the things were doing. But you know the complexity of this. Every publisher or every advertiser and publisher has to get on to contract, and then they'll have to release it, and so there were so much of complexity, but the ad spaces are also not very customizable. So let's say New York Post has only these 3 advertisers, and the person who comes to the news website, let's say he doesn't want to buy anything electronic, okay? He's not he would keep using the same stuff until it breaks, let's say 10 to 15 years. It's not very valuable to put the content, right? Put the ad of these providers, right? So it's not monetizable to a great extent. So what happened is that there were these new age companies which came, which acted like an intermediary. So what they do is they dynamically serve ads based on the user's preference, right? So in short, there are like 3 new nomenclatures we just came across: advertiser, ad network, and then publisher, okay? So this is how it works. Let's say BBC has an ad space. They would have, let's say they'll contact the ad space, and the ad space would give them a script, and that script will be put in the web page. So once the script is actually put, that script will actually make a client-side request to the ad server, and the ad server would give you will actually set a cookie. So this cookie you see, which is getting set in the step number 4, that is a third-party cookie, which is called tracking cookie. I will show you why now it's called tracking cookie. The next step is the one which explains it. So the things doesn't end here. So the third-party tracking cookie is actually sent. In our example, let's say you visit BBC and BBC shows an ad. The third-party cookie gets set. Okay. Now is the interesting part. After BBC, you go to CNN. Okay. The moment you go to CNN also has a ad space. Okay. Let's say in our example, let's say both of them had Google Ads. Okay. When BBC, when you open CNN, the cookie which was set when you visited BBC, right? The same cookie will be actually sent to the ad server. So when that happens, you know what? There is the cookie is a identifier. So ideally, what the ad server knows about you is that you are the same guy who has visited the BBC, and you are the same guy who has visited the CNN. So ideally, over a period of time, the ad server will know, okay, you are the particular guy who been visiting these websites. So it's essentially your browsing history. You would go ahead and you would see, right, your browsing history. So this is how, using third-party cookies, the ad server will actually know what all websites you visited. Okay. I would request everyone to remember this example. Why? Because later in our concepts which you are going to see, I'll be pulling out the same example. Anyway, I'll show the slides at that time as well, but letting you guys know, giving a heads up. All right, so it's not just the data. So let's say in our example, the example which we saw was a very simple example where using the third-party cookies, what all websites you visited, and now ad server knows that. Okay. So over a long period of time, they will give you a profile. Okay, you are interested in news, so probably we can sell you a premium news subscription. So this way, based on your interest on the websites you visit, they would want to give the very relevant ads for you to buy. That's not a problem. Okay. Now that one more thing is, it's not just that. In spite of it, there are so many other things which they will know about you. So off late now, for like 5 to 6 years, everyone in the world are extremely becoming conscious about the privacy, right? So because data is getting misused, let's say, so this way, this kind of awareness is actually coming across everyone, right? Across the globe. So there was so we have now like two problems, okay, to be solved. One, we want to protect the user's privacy. This is first thing. So one proposal to it is, think of this. We'll just eliminate all the third-party cookies. Okay. If we do that, what will happen is, definitely privacy concern is protected. Okay. Now, the whole world is actually primarily built with content, right? So why do, let's say, Instagram, people put things in Instagram, and let's say, how do news publishers survive organically? So the reason is advertising, right? So primarily, the whole revenue model of several companies depending on advertising. So if we actually completely cut off this third-party cookies, the ability to give you the customized advertisement will be completely lost for the advertisers. So that's like shooting the tires, right, when the vehicle is running, right? So that's a problem, right? So if, let's say, we completely eliminate all the third-party cookies, you will actually see extremely different advertisement than you were looking for. So that's also a problem for advertisers. So there are two main goals. We should protect users' privacy, keeping the customized advertisement ability, to show the customized advertisement, and for ad attributions. What is ad attribution? That the story doesn't end here. You are actually shown a customized advertisement. The story doesn't end here. There is one more part to it where, based on who clicks on it, and if someone shows interest and someone ends up buying something, at that point only a lot of monetization happens. What I mean is, let's say in Instagram you're seeing a Apple laptop or iPhone advertisement, okay? When that happens, if you just click on it, it doesn't guarantee that the advertisement is successful. When it is actually guaranteed is, depending on the advertisement model, of course, if you go ahead to the Apple's website using the advertisement, and then if you actually buy a product in several advertising models, that is when the advertiser is actually given money from the actual advertiser. The ad provider is actually given money from the the advertiser, okay? So this is also one of the popular models. So the thing is, just showing you ads and tracking if you have actually clicked on that advertisement is also another part to be solved, okay? So all of these things has to be solved, keeping the user's privacy in mind. So this is the proposed solution by Google. The name of this proposed solution is called Google Privacy Sandbox. So basically these are set of APIs which is aimed at solving this, okay? So you can think of this as browser APIs. In JavaScript, in browser APIs, we have this set timeout, set interval, these kind of browser APIs, right? The same way, Chrome is one of the primary products of Google, right? Where it has the majority of browser markets, right? It has it. So the idea is to actually give new APIs to the browser, which is the Chrome browser, which is what Google controls, and use those APIs to replace third-party cookies. So this is the whole idea of this Privacy Sandbox. So these are some of the APIs. There are several other APIs as well, but I'm just giving you the names of such things. Few of those, which is Topics API is one, Protected Audience API, Attribution Reporting API, Related Website Sets, Chips. Okay, so these are all some of the APIs. Now this is the first problem which I was saying. We want to show relevant content and ads. All right, so here in this, under this subsection, which is show relevant content and ads, I'm going to discuss about two APIs. The first API is called Topics API, and the second API is Protected Audience API. First, we'll see the Topics API. So this, to explain this Topics API, you will have to get a refresher of the example which I was saying earlier, where using third-party cookies, how your browsing history is being recorded by the ad server, correct? So basically, the name of the advertising technique which is used based on your browsing histories, right? So it's called context-based advertising. So what it means is, let's say I am Manoj, okay? I like reading news. If I like reading news, there is a high probability that in a span of like 30 days, I would have been going to several news websites, correct? So since my browser history is already there with the ad providers, they can actually analyze those details in the last 30 days. Okay, 40% of websites he has visited is on news. So they'll actually categorize news for me, okay, personally, like exactly they know that, okay, I am interested in news. So this is one category, okay. Let's say I am interested in gadgets, okay. So they are seeing me going to the, let's say Apple's website or Samsung's official website very often, and checking the newer models and other things, okay. They would know that they would add a category like gadgets for me. So this way, they can actually know the interest of it on a high level based on the websites, based on the websites. And based on that, they can actually form a profile of me, and they will use that context of mine, and they will sell the ads. So if I'm someone who usually visits the same example which I was saying in the start, right? I'm very interested in news. So if I keep reading news, I would actually in the advertisements get this this thing like a premium subscription for any of the news. That is this. I mean, have you guys probably you guys should have got something like this, right? What do you guys say? How many of you have noticed it? Like you'll be interested in something, and definitely the news seems to be or the advertisement seems to be very relevant, right? Cool. So this is a high level. Okay, so there is a API which was proposed by Google. The name of the API is Topics API. Okay. So how this eliminates is that. So I'm reiterating on one thing. So how Google plans to do this is completely deprecate the third-party applications. I mean third-party cookies. Okay. When that happens, they want to add polyfill using these APIs. So Topics API, essentially like in a previous example, right? So the third-party cookies are being used to track the websites which you visited. But in Topics API, when we use Topics API, what happens is, as the first step, Google is going to deprecate the third-party APIs, which means no third-party cookies will be there. When no cookies are there, it cannot tracking. I mean, the previous problem is solved of your privacy thing, okay, privacy concerns. Now, in Topics API, the topics itself categorizes the website into different buckets. Say, for example, BBC, CNN, the New York Post, all of these websites will have a category called news, okay. Now, when you visit these websites from your browser internally creates and saves your interest. Like news. Let's say you are visiting so much of websites related to sports, the browser internally saves this as sports as your interest. Okay, this way, the browser maintains the interest of you, and it is actually not shared with anyone. Okay, the browser has this. Now the user also has a control over it. The user can go ahead and the user can actually opt out or change. Okay, I am not interested in news. You remove the news and you add something else. Let's say I am interested in let's say traveling. Okay, so this way we ourselves have the control. So using the browser settings, we can actually set those interests, and this will not actually leave your device. And when you see the advertisers, let's say you land up in an advertisement, a website which has advertisement in it, the advertiser's client script will actually fetch this topics API, asking the browser of what interest does this person using this browser has, and using that interest, it's on high level right now. It's actually a lot more privacy safe. If you see now, the ad server might know that I am interested in this, but previously what was happening, it exactly knows the websites which I was visiting, right? So it has improved. So this is a contextual advertising. As I was saying, it doesn't, but there is, okay. So this is the first level, okay, on a high level, how the privacy is saved. So there is even more advanced use cases. What I said was a very simple one. So I next wanted to talk about retargeting. So previously, retargeting is even more precise and even more dangerous when it comes to privacy. So earlier, the advertisements were being shown based on the websites you visit. That's almost like a high level. Okay. Now, this might seem like a little scary thing, which is you go to Amazon or let's say an e-commerce website, and you particularly add some items into the cart. Okay, shoes for example, sports shoes for example. Okay, you suddenly wanted to get fit, so you went to Amazon and you added some sports shoes. You added the sports shoes and you dropped off, which means you didn't buy the shoes and you were just browsing the website. Definitely this also you might have encountered, where in some website you would actually see shoes for the advertisements, sports shoes, right? So now the previous example is just based on the URLs you visited. So there is no way for the third party, I mean, it feels like as if there is no way based on our previous example that how they could actually know the cart, the things which we have added to cart, right? So this is the interesting thing. So to explain that, I wanted to improve the nomenclature, add a few more things. Previously what we saw publishers, advertisers. Now adding a few more to the glossary, there is something called DSP and SSP. Okay, so ideally there would not be one single ad server. How it works is that publishers, they use a category of software called demand side platform. And the advertisers, they use a different set of platform called SSP, which is supply side platform. Okay, so these two kind of platforms, they actually do some sort of bidding. And whoever wins the bid, so it's kind of an ad exchange, you know, the stock market exchange is there, right? That way there is something called ad exchange where bids of those advertisers are actually played, and whoever wins the bid, that ad will be shown. Okay, so this is the new nomenclature. We have like three things newly: DSP, SSP, ad exchange. Okay, with this context in mind, let's go ahead and see how the retargeting works. So why do they call us retargeting us? The e-commerce example which we are showing about, talking about this shoes, right? You add a sports shoe and then you go to a different website. they are actually targeting you there, which is a retargeting. Okay, and let's say you don't buy that in the website. Okay, in the first ad. So eventually you will keep browsing for a week. Everywhere you go, you would mostly see this advertisement, right? So basically, they are retargeting it, making your influencing your thoughts to buy the things. So this is retargeting. So how this works currently is that, let's say you go to Chroma website. In Chroma, you are interested in Apple and Lenovo product. Okay, you added one Apple laptop to your cart and one Lenovo laptop to your cart. Okay, the moment you do this, the same third-party cookies, which is used for tracking, which is actually set by the DSP. DSP is the demand-side platform. Those cookies would be sent to the ad server. Okay. Now in the publisher side. So, for example, you dropped off from Chroma and you are visiting Instagram. Okay. Now, Instagram. In the Instagram, let's say Instagram also uses the same DSP. Okay. Now in the Instagram, the information of you, which is actually set by the DSP in the Chroma.com, that using this cross cookie, they would be actually sent to Instagram. So through Instagram, it will be sent to the SSP. SSP is the supply side platform, and now SSP has your tracking ID, okay, the cookie, tracker cookie, and that invites for bid. Okay, look, I have a person who has interests in Apple and Lenovo laptop. Okay, so who would want to bid for it? So this kind of a bid initiation would start, and Apple and Lenovo, the DSP basically already has your information, which is actually sent in the step number 2. Okay. So they have this information. So they would actually see, okay, this is the same guy who has added the cart, who added those 2 products in the cart. So Apple, there is an automatic bidding which would happen between Apple and Lenovo. Based on the ad quality and the amount they are spending for the advertisement, there is an auction which happens. Whoever wins those auction, those advertisement will be actually shown. So it's basically a competition between Apple and Lenovo because you have added 2 laptops, right? So, and based on that competition, whoever wins, that ad will be shown. So, what do you guys think? Is it like a little more scarier, right, than the previous one, context-based tracking? So in context-based tracking, they were just URLs, and now they even have more data. It's not just about the cart. Any click you do in those websites, everything is being tracked and actually sent, and your profile is very precisely built. Right? So, what do you guys think? No. What I'm saying is, this is the current one. Currently, it's not actually deprecated. It's a proposal to deprecate it. It's not deprecated. So, this example is how the things work currently with third-party cookies. Okay, so I'll be actually showing what happens after the third-party cookie deprecation and using these Privacy Sandbox APIs. Yeah. The bidding will, the thing is, the SSP would actually start the bidding, okay. At that point, it can never be, you can't actually say that it's just Apple or Lenovo. It can be like you could have used a different e-commerce website and you have added something like shoes. So basically the ad is for what advertisement should be shown in the ad banner. Yeah. That depends on the so many factors, right? So that depends on the ad acquisition as well, and that's a complex process if you see. It also depends on how the SSP rates the quality of the ad. It's not just about how much money. It's also about how much relevance the ad is. What's the quality of the ad? So there are a set of things which definitely we would not be able to pinpoint it, okay, this ad will be shown. like stock market prices. Can we actually guess what would be the next price? It's almost similar to that. Everything is automated, in fact. So this way of tracking, right, where let's say you add something to cart or you visit a page, immediately the DSP gets a record of it. So this is called pixel tracking. So this is called pixel tracking, and also this type of advertisement is called retargeting. So there is this API called Protected Audience API, which is aimed at replacing this sort of behavior. So this will look almost similar to the topics, but the ad acquisition is the thing which differentiates it. So this is how retargeting will work after the Protected Audience API is implemented. So at this point, the third parties will be deprecated. So ideally, the tracking is completely stopped on that front. But still, we want to show the advertisement without invading the user's privacy. Okay, so this is how it works. So here, you again go to Chroma and you add Apple and Lenovo laptops in your cart. Right after you do this, this information that you are interested in the laptops is actually again stored in the browser, which is very similar to the topics API. Okay, but when that happens, currently your browser holds that information. It is actually not sent to the ad servers. Now you visit Instagram. Right after you visit Instagram, what happens is the SSP, very similar to the topics API, they fetch the browser API and get your interests, saying, okay, this guy is interested in laptops. There are like 1,000 plus categories for this interest, 1,000 plus interests. Okay, in this case, let it be something like electronics or laptops or computers. Okay, so now this audience API would actually get this interest very similar to the topics API. Now this interest is actually sent to the SSP. To SSP, and SSP creates a bid request. Now is the difference, which is earlier this ad auction used to happen, right, where all of the information is actually sent to the SSP and it actually happens in the ad server. But now the difference is that all of that DSP and SSP's advertisement logic is actually executed in your browser, and the whole ad acquisition happens in your browser without your data leaving the browser. Everything happens, and then the browser is the one which will actually decide, okay, based on the acquisition logic, the advertising logics of SSP and DSP, it will actually show you the advertisement. Okay, it shows the advertisement, and it's browser one who anonymously does reporting of the ad attribution. So this ad attribution is the next part, right? So I was saying about two parts. One is showing the relevant advertisement, and the second part is tracking it. If you have clicked on it, or if you have showed interest on it, so this ad attribution information also will be shared by the browser. Earlier it was the web page, right? Web page and the SSP, the server, ad server. But now in this case, it's the browser who takes control, and all of your critical data is actually not moved out of the browser. Some anonymous data is still given, like for example, this browser is actually interested in, let's say, electronics, mobile, computer. This kind of anonymous information is actually given, but not as the previous state. In previous state, they will exactly know, okay, this is the guy who sits here, is the one who has done this exact thing. Right? So this is how the audience, protected audience API works. The previous thing, compared to the previous thing, the primary differentiation is that the acquisition, right? The ad auction. The ad auction is actually run in the browser itself. So this is the actual APIs, in fact, for protected audience. So you visit an advertiser website, and when you do it, join ad interest group. You guys can read this. So this is the one of the protected audience API. This API is called, when this is called with the parameter, it will actually store those audience group. When that happens, the user visits a different site which is displaying an advertisement. When that happens, the seller of the ad space on the site is likely to be an SSP or the site itself, and then the run ad auction is actually called, when that is actually called from the SSP script, okay, the script which the websites have. When that happens, the ad acquisition actually happens in the browser, right? So, and then the reporting result is there. If you see at the last step, that is where the attribution comes in. So someone has won the bet, who has won the bet, and those attribution information will be actually sent to both DSP and SSP. So almost we are at the end of the talk. So this is the second problem which we are saying, which is the measurement of ads, like how much ads were successful. There is this attribution reporting API, which is almost the last thing which we saw in the previous step, right? Which is the reporting, ad reporting. So how this ad reporting is actually done in an anonymous manner is that there will be like two reports which will be sent. One is an event level report, the other one is an aggregate report. So aggregated report would be something like these many users clicked on these ads. So this kind of summary information will be sent. But in our previous case, if you export these results, if you are working for some ad attribution platforms, you could exactly say, okay, this user came from this advertisement, all of this, even when you work for a consumer industry, you can actually take those things. But now it is masked. It's more like you would not get this information of exactly this user got converted because of this ad. That kind of precise information is no longer available. So the further reading is that as a developer, what we can do is there are so ideally this is the proposal, right? So where the third party cookies will be disabled. So when the third party cookies are disabled, it's not just for tracking, right? So there can be other functionalities also may depend on this third party cookies. First, as a developer, as a web developer, our aim would be more like none of the functionalities will be broken, okay? For which Google has actually released this PS analysis tool. This is a Chrome extension. If you install this Chrome extension, in your Chrome settings, there is an option to disable the third party cookies. When you do that, if you, let's say you are maintaining a website, you can actually disable the third party cookies and check if your website is working as expected. This is one thing. And the other thing is, when you use this extension given here, it will actually recognize the third party cookies which are being used in your website, and it will show the alternatives to it. And this proposal, right, this is not live yet. This is a proposal, and there are several government, what do you call, there is a nice word, right? Compliance for it. UK, they are very strict with the privacy, right? So privacy, competition related rules, it's very strict UK. So there are a lot of, Google, before Google deprecates it, it has to give a lot of research and other things that it is a successful thing and it can be implemented, and it will have to get approval from them, very similar to GDPR and other things, right? So when they have to do it, it's actually dragging a while. Ideally, initially Google was saying that they'll do it for the 1% of websites by mid of 2024, but they are still postponing it. We don't know when that's going to come. But anyway, this tool, right? This tool will actually show you a lot of things about third-party cookies and their alternatives. So, and also this is the website, privacysandbox.com. This website would have so many other things than I just scratched the surface of it. There are like around 10 things, okay? Even now, let's say you are clicking on something called I'm not a robot, these kind of things you're doing, right?
to show that you are not a robot. Even there are sophisticated mechanisms without relying on third-party cookies and with improved privacy things. So there are several things I would request you to give it a glance. So though it's a proposal, it's not here yet. It's good to know things as developers, right? So where related to, this is a really big change because Google controls a majority of browsers, and if third-party cookies are now there, definitely so many valuable features also we may lose it. So there are several things coming up, so just keep an eye for it. This talk is basically aimed at giving you guys, okay, something like this is coming. Keep an eye, watch out for it. Alright guys, so that's all about the talk. So you can scan that code for my social handles. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. And most of this knowledge for me actually comes from this Privacy Sandbox. I actually contributed, this is an open source project by the way, so I contributed to it a couple of features enhancements. That's when I got to know about this Privacy Sandbox and other things, that so many new changes are actually coming. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have, if I'm not. No questions? Yeah. Huh? So how will we be able to pull out the data? Like suppose if I have AdSense, forget Google AdSense, and if there I want to pull out the data of users to see to show them the relevant ads. So currently what you told us is like browser will be able to AdSense will be able to how would it communicate to the AdSense? That's the reporting, right, which I was saying. The backtracking would not happen in user level. It will happen in aggregate level, which means it will anonymously say, okay, these many people has created. So it will not actually map, you can't actually using that data can map to one single individual saying that, okay, this user clicked on this exact ad and then he became our subscriber. You can't backtrack that. Okay, so how will while we are browsing, it will make the calls to that AdSense, or how will it go away from website? No, I mean the ads, the ad server script will be still there. Currently, what the ad server script does is that it sends the third-party cookie. But now instead of sending the third-party cookie, the ad attribution data is actually sent. I mean the interest data is actually sent before the advertisement. So after the advertisement, it's the aggregate data. So it's not a new thing in fact. This particular thing which you are saying, right? This aggregate level of reporting back is already in iOS. So iOS has something called SK Ad Network. There the anonymous data is actually being set. You can, the advertisers can actually see that, okay, 50 people got converted. We ran like 1,000 ads, 50 people got converted. But you can't actually backtrack that who are those 50 people. And it will actually takes time as well. It would not be immediate. It will take around 7 to 10 days, I think. So this particular piece was already solved in a different way in Apple ecosystem. The track, don't track, you might have seen something, right? So they took a different approach, but Apple's approach is different. So, sorry, Google's approach is a little different. In Google's approach, it's more like they don't want to affect that advertising ecosystem, making it a little more friendlier for advertising. But for Apple, they are very strict, like they completely eradicated it. There's one important thing to note here, which is Google's primary revenue depends on advertisement, but no, it's not for Apple. So if Apple turns off that backtracking, it's not a loss for Apple. But it would be, if the same thing Google does, it would be a direct loss for Google, right?
So you understand this, the same approach. You know, there are like several articles which are coming when this don't track thing was coming. There was something called advertiser ID in Apple ecosystem, using which you can actually backtrack. When they came up with this track, do not track prompt, you might have seen if you are using iPhones. Have anyone noticed it? When you open an app, this app wants to track you. Do you want to track, don't track? When you click don't track, it automatically stops sending the advertiser ID, and then what happens is that the aggregate data would be sent, right? So that would not have the advertiser information. So even if someone has clicked on your advertisement and then they have subscribed to your app, you can't actually backtrack. If you take those reporting data from ad attributions platform like Branch or AppsFlyer, these are like ad attribution platforms which will show who is the user who clicked on the app and got subscribed. You would not actually get the advertising ID there. You can't actually backtrack. You can just say that, okay, 50 people got subscribed. That's the data which will come. So that's called aggregate data. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Cool. Yeah. There are APIs, different APIs for app. So this talk I have scoped it only for web. So there are different set of APIs for mobile applications, particularly Android, this being Google's ecosystem. You can actually check that because the scope of this task is only for web. So app, that's a different thing. But there are APIs, you can take a look at them. All right, thank you guys, bye.